We will go to other stories just very shortly. We'll also go in just a moment to my colleague Makgala Masiteng, who is on a story pertaining to a management at the University of the Free State, basically investigating a racial slur incident at that particular university. But we will go to her as soon as we are able to touch base with her in just a moment. All right, let's go to that story now. Makgala Masiteng is on that story for us. Management at the University of the Free State says it's investigating an alleged incident of racism at its main campus in Bloemfontein. It's alleged that a white student referred to a black student as a baboon during a lecture on the 14th of this month. The lecturer is alleged to have labelled the statement as a joke. The university says it condemns all forms of racial actions and that it views the matter in a very serious light. Let's go now to SABC News reporter Makgala Masiteng. Thank goodness she's available now. Makgala, thanks indeed for joining us. Talk to us about what the university is investigating and how serious these allegations are.
Thank you very much, Griselda. This matter is very serious. I was just speaking to some of the students earlier on who said that it is really tense currently because of that incident. You would remember that the University of the Free State actually has a very bad history when it comes to racism, dating back to what happened in 2008 with the Raids matter, where the black workers were made to eat urinated food, and then there were several incidents after that. Around 2014, there was also a black student who were hit by a car, and then when he went on to ask about that incident, he was then beat up. And then there was another incident again in 2016. There have been several incidents of racism at the University of the Free State. Now, with the recent incident, as you have alluded in your intro, this is where a student was called a baboon by another student, and when she went on to report the matter, it was then labeled as a joke. So we are getting a reaction from student bodies at the University of the Free State just to get their views, because many students are not happy with what has happened, and they are calling for the suspension of the alleged perpetrator as well as the suspension of the lecturer. But with me here, I am with Christopher from DASO, who will take us through their views about the recent incident. Thank you very much for joining us. Tell us, what's your view about what has recently happened? We know that the university have a very bad history when it comes to issues of racism.
Yeah, we are very concerned about what happened now at the university with this alleged racial incident. It's heartbreaking that such an indignity could even happen at a higher education institution, and we call on a full investigation to take place, one that is impartial, one that establishes the facts, and we call on the university to promote a culture of unity among the student populace at the moment, as the situation is quite tense, I would say.
Let's talk about what normally happens under normal circumstances. Your experience in terms of integration at this university, how is it?
Yeah. In my personal experience, I would say that in my classes, it is integrated, especially because I'm an honors student. I'm a Bachelor of Administration honors student. So in my experience, it is integrated. However, among first-year students, many of them, they do not come from integrated high schools. I can see that cultural integration could be an issue. But DASO, we are committed to non-racialism and to a single nation that is unified.
Thank you very much. I'll come back to you. Let me bring in Thabo from SASCO just to get their views. I've seen a statement that you are already calling for the suspension of the alleged perpetrator as well as the lecturer.
Indeed, my sister, that's how it is. That's how it is. We are calling for the suspension of the student because we do not see it as just being in the same class with someone that would have made such an absurd statement towards another person. So what is also the reason why we are also calling for the suspension of a lecturer, it is because the lecturer took part in downplaying the matter, in saying that the student must just relax and take it as a joke. And it has also been alleged that the very same lecturer has used Afrikaans as a mode of teaching in their class. So it is therefore on those premises and those reasons that we are calling for the suspension of the lecturer pending the investigation, of course.
We've seen a statement where the university is saying that it's investigating the matter, but I've seen on your statement that you are saying that if immediate action is not taken by Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, you will take further steps. Take us through that.
Yes, indeed. That's what we have said. As I have alluded already, that it is not just and comfortable for a student that has been taken through such an absurd allegation, or rather is an absurd statement, being told that you are a baboon and you are having to be subjected to be in a class with the very same lecturer that don't play the statement and the very same student that would have said the statement. So we're saying to make sure that this student is safe and it is well equipped inside the classroom and is not disturbed by anything, we are calling for therefore the suspension of a lecturer and a student. And therefore, if the faculty is not ascertaining that that measures are taken, it is therefore then, as Sasko was saying, would make it a point that there's no student in that class that would have comfort as if there's nothing that had happened or had transpired in that particular class. So it is therefore that we are calling for the immediate suspension pending the outcomes of the investigation of the two, both the lecturer as well as the student that would have made the statement.
Let's talk about the issues of integration at the University of the Free State. We know that it has a very bad history when it comes to issues of racism. There's always been incidents rearing its ugly heads at this university. How is it when you look at it under normal circumstances?
Well, racism is something that has quite been internalized at UFS. And it is hidden from the society for them to see what is it that our students are subjected to. There are a lot of things that would have happened inside the institution where the institution is also, or rather mainly focus on their image rather than bringing these things to the fore and ascertaining that people get to know about the incidents that happen in UFS and get to have this inclusivity as well as diversity that they so fondly want according to their Vision 130. They rather downplay these things and make it a point that they subtle them and deal with them institutionally. So it is quite upset, and it is unfortunate that a fellow student was subjected to this, and the institution is quite rather doing what it is usually doing, downplaying the matter. If it wasn't for SASCO being there and making a point that the voice of the student is heard, and we make sure that this injustice that occurred, it gets to be unrooted, it wouldn't have even been at this particular stance where we found ourselves. So it is thus we are saying it is quite upset and unfortunate that the University of the Free State is still perpetuating and influencing racism, and it is quite hiding it rather than making sure that it unroots it in institutions.
Let's hear from you. What should happen to solve whatever that is that you're talking about, issues of racism on campus?
What must happen is we must have a decolonized vice chancellor that would not perpetuate racism as well as hate speech and hide them behind their so-called vision that they want, which is called the Vision 130 if you were to look at it. So what we're saying is having people such as Lecturer Petro Mzilin or Dr. Petro Mzilin being at the forefront of institutions such as this one, it is then we are going to have with certainty that we are going to have a transformed institution that does not have injustices of this nature getting to occur.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to bring back Daso, Christopher. I want to hear your views. We've talked about what you've experienced on campus. You're saying that from your class, no issues, but you are still seeing some remnants of racism when you look outside. What should happen for this university to finally transform and move away from these incidents of racism from time to time rearing its head at this on this campus?
I definitely think that the university should have some multicultural integration programs, especially for students that do not come from integrated high schools. It's really important, I would say, to then create a sense of cultural understanding and shared belonging in this institution.
You talked about how you would love for the management to handle this matter, take into consideration that soon there will be examinations, and because of this incident, because it has raised issues, obviously the situation is tense now.
Yes, so we've already heard a few rumblings about possible protests that could happen if the university does not handle this issue correctly, and we are calling for calm, and we really want the university to just respond to this matter effectively in order to avoid possible protests that could disrupt then the examinations that are starting in October.
Thank you very much. That is Christopher from DASO. He was together with Thabo from SASCO, just taking their views on what has happened, telling us from SASCO side that they want the student to be suspended as well as the lecturer, because they're saying that the situation will not be nice for those who have been affected by this matter. They have said that they will take this matter further if the university fails to act immediately. We have seen, of course, the statement released by the University of the Free State, where it says that it will, or rather it is investigating this matter. They have said that they will respond later on, but for now we'll stick to what they have released on that statement. But earlier on, Griselda, when I was talking to just random students passing by here at the main gate of the University of the Free State, just talking to them about their normal day experience as to what happens on a normal day, we still have students who are saying that when it comes to classes, you still see separation. When it comes to classes, you will still see the white students isolating themselves and the black ones isolating themselves. So this speaks again to the issues of integration on this campus, of course, taking into consideration of many incidents that have happened at the University of the Free State, and also what we have seen recently with that issue of another rather a white student calling a black student a baboon.
Student was able to live with from that particular class was being labeled a baboon by a particular white student that's there by the university. So of course, as the EFFSC in the Free State, we are going to be taking extreme measures to ensure that, one, the immediate suspension of the perpetrator involved, because we believe that student should not have any place whatsoever on our campus, because we believe that institutions of higher learning, and even South Africa in general, should have no place for racism, and we should not tolerate racism at all. So as the EFFSC, we condemn all means of what had now happened at that moment in time on the 14th of September, and we will be taking action against that.
We have heard of many incidents of racism at the University of the Free State. How is the transformation, according to your experience?
Yes, of course. As I said, my sister, this racial incident is really taking us back, because we are thinking that we are somewhat on a path of transformation, because if we were to recall the past racial incidents that have happened, we thought the university is gradually, of course, changing and more welcoming towards black students, as now they're the current majority inside the university. But then we're still seeing racism rear its ugly head on our campus. So now the transformation, it seems as if now there's been a slow pace in transformation. And one of our founding pillars is that we are going to be pushing for the transformation, and we want to ensure that racism should have no place whatsoever in our campuses.
Thank you very much. That is Tapam from the EFF Student Command. I'm going to bring in Makgala Toto from the SRC. He's actually the president of the SRC at the moment, just to take us through their views as the SRC and what is it that they have done up to so far since this incident.
Since the incident of 14 September, we have written to the management after we noticed that actually it's now a long time that this incident is there. We first wrote to the HR department, Human Rights Department, requesting that something be done on urgent basis. And we further wrote to management as well. As they were responding, we told them that this incident should not be kept under carpet. It should be made public, because now it's a matter of public interest, and the ground is volatile as at this moment. And this being kept under carpet portrays another posture that the university on its own is downplaying the issue of racism. We highlighted that this should not be put under carpet, because remember, this university is a former white university, and it has a lot of history of racism. You go to your Shimla Park incident, you go to an incident where white students fed black workers feces. Right, and then we told the management that they must never ever keep it under carpet. Hence, you saw them releasing the statement, because we told them that there's a possibility of an uprising in the University of the Free State, because this thing is now gaining a lot of traction. And we condemned it. We called for suspension. We are closely monitoring the case. We are in contact with the victim. We keep on updating them, and yes, we really do not want people to take us back to our past days, our dark days. it must not happen now that this country wants to transform.
Take us to what happened on that day. I understand you were the first people to be called on the incident when the incident happened on that day. What happened?
On the day I was in my office, and then there's a knock on my door saying that, "President, did you see your WhatsApp?" And then I see my WhatsApp, and then we see that someone is complaining that they were called a baboon, referred to as a baboon. We rush there with other few SRC members. When we get there, we were told that the boy fled, and there was a lot of complaint according to those to the witnesses who were there, saying that this particular person called this other one. In fact, they were a group. They referred to this one, a black student, saying that you are a baboon. And when students acted in good faith, taking it up with the lecturer said, "No, that must be ignored. It's a joke, right? That's how they are." And then we called Protection Service so that they can come and see what is happening, so that the student can be able to open a case, and that case should be followed up.
So a case has been opened as we speak?
Yes, there's a case opened and it's currently running, and we are closely monitoring it. Each time we're writing to them asking for updates regarding to the case. Yes.
Well, you work with students on a daily basis. You also still attending classes, I understand. How is it under normal circumstances? Is there transformation at the University of the Free State?
The transformation at the University of the Free State at some state, I can agree that it's going there, but as things are right now, Gary, we are moving 10 steps back, according to what I see, because if you get to look, after that case, there was a surge of complaints against particularly the nurse faculty. And when you get to look at the structure of nurse faculty, you get to see that this structure is very white. Let me put it like that plainly. It's very white. And then on the statement that we released again in the communication to the management, we requested that structure must be looked at. Yes.
When you talk about nurse faculty to somebody who is not studying at the University of the Free State, what are we talking about? We are talking about natural and agricultural sciences faculty. Yes, that is the faculty. So I've seen again that students also took a memorandum to the dean of faculty, requesting in fact calling for a suspension, an immediate suspension within 48 hours. And as things are now, the ground is very volatile, I can tell you. Thank you very much. That is Makgala Toto, the president of the SRC at the University of the Free State, telling us of the steps that they have taken as the SRC since this incident occurred, of course, raising some of the issues that have been raised by the students at the University of the Free State, especially since that incident, that now there's also a call, of course, for the suspension of the student, the lecturer, but also there are concerns now with the Faculty of Agriculture at that university in terms of management, as he said, that it is white. So they're also then calling for an intervention or action to be taken on that matter. We'll continue, of course, to speak to students on the ground to hear what is saying, but also monitor what will happen, of course, as they have all alluded to that the situation is tense at the University of the Free State.
Makgala, thank you very much indeed. I'm sure we will catch up with you once there are further developments in this particular case. That university say they take this very seriously and have instituted a formal investigation.